What's going on, everybody? Back again today to bring you another video talking more and more, always more, about the DC Multiverse toy line from McFarlane Toys. This is a line that I've complained a lot about, and I've criticized a lot. Mainly because I love DC, and in the last couple years that Mattel had the license to make DC collectible toys, they kind of dropped the ball, things got really crappy, and then when McFarlane picked it up and I found out that McFarlane was going to be doing it, I got really excited, and I was like, cool, finally, I'm going to get the DC collectible figure line, toy line that I've always wanted. Well, we're almost 2 years into McFarlane having the license, and the line is still not what I wanted, and it's disappointing, but I've kind of come to the conclusion that, you know, you can't just offer criticism. You have to also give instruction. So, you know, it's like if you're sitting down at a restaurant and, you know, the staff just keeps asking, like, what would you like to eat? And you just say food, but then they just bring you something on a plate and you're like, no, this is wrong because of this, and that. You know, they could easily counter it with, you know, you're not exactly giving us a lot of instruction of what you want. You're just saying food. And then when we bring you food, you tell us there's a ton wrong with it. So why don't you be more specific with what you want? So that's exactly what this video is. It's called The Future of DC Multiverse, and it's more so the ideal future of DC Multiverse. This is the direction in which I think if DC and McFarlane Toys took the line in this direction, I think it would be infinitely better than it is in its current form. So with that being said, let's just get into it. First and foremost, we've seen in the line so far, McFarlane has been doing a lot of waves of figures that are based on very modern, current stuff. Different modern things that are currently going on. They are current DC events. Whether it's comics, movies, doesn't matter. He's being, either he wants to stay current with DC, or he's being told to. I'm talking about stuff like White Knight, Last Night on Earth, Death Metal, the movie stuff, even though that's kind of a given. Well, Todd, McFarlane Toys, DC, if you guys want to stay modern and keep up with current events in your toy line, then the thing that you should be focusing on is Infinite Frontier. This just recently wrapped up. This is the first big story arc mini-series since Death Metal. It introduces the new status quo of the DC Comics multiverse, and how it's infinite once again. Not since prior to 1986 with Crisis on Infinite Earths has the multiverse been infinite, but it is now once again infinite, and that opens up a lot of possibilities. And this is what I think you should be focusing on, just for a little bit of like general direction. If you look at these two pieces of artwork for Infinite Frontier, you know, any character that you see here in any of these pictures, go ahead and make the figure of that character. You can't go wrong. That's a very general way of describing where I think the line should go. Just anything from these two pictures, anything from Infinite Frontier, go ahead and make it. You really can't go wrong with Infinite Frontier at this point. Infinite Frontier is it is good because while what led us to Infinite Frontier is a little iffy, you know, basically DC Comics from 2011 till now has been this roller coaster of just like, what the fuck is going on? But it seems like the whole purpose of Death Metal and then moving into Infinite Frontier is to just like kind of like, you know, cut the leg off before the infection can reach the heart. You know, like, the past is the past. Yes, the past like 10 years have been kind of crazy and ridiculous and all fucked up, but screw it, let's just put it in the past and let's move forward. And what we're moving forward into is Infinite Frontier, and Infinite Frontier looks like it has a lot of promise. So I don't think Todd could go wrong with doing Infinite Frontier type stuff. Once again, though, this is just a very general direction, so we're going to get into more specifics. The Justice League. I would like to see us be able to complete a modern Justice League roster with the McFarlane DC Multiverse toy line. So far, we have Superman, we have Barry Allen the Flash, and we have John Stewart. That's about it. Now, some people might be saying, we've got plenty of Batmans. Yeah, but none that really capture the modern comic book Batman. Detective Comics 1000 Batman was supposed to, but that thing just turned out like garbage. And since then, people have been able to do kit bashing and customs, but for the most part, we don't have a modern comic book Batman that is good quality. Now, we might be getting one in the near future with the Three Jokers Batman. But once again, if you can see here, the costume for Three Jokers Batman is a bit different than he's been portrayed in most modern. It's usually been, the black trunks, black and gray, black bat on the chest. And that's not what the Three Jokers Batman is. But also moving forward here in the near future, he is going to go back to wearing the yellow oval in the costume with no trunks. So the Three Jokers Batman does sort of fit what is to come in the near future. Now, I also think that since we know Todd is famous for just doing tons and tons of variants to the point where it's just excessive. There's no one on Earth who really even wanted that variant. Todd, why did you make it? Well, because he could, and he saw it as a money-making opportunity, whether it really is or not. Either way. So with the Three Jokers Batman, you could easily do a variant of that maybe has a slightly different belt, has the black trunks, has the black bat. I could see that happening in the future. And even if it doesn't go down like that, the Three Jokers Batman is close enough. So there's your comic book Batman. But in terms of the rest of the Justice League roster, we don't have a standard, modern comic book Wonder Woman. We don't have a Martian Manhunter. Who else? We don't have an Aquaman. And we do not have a Hawkgirl. In this picture, we see Aquaman and Hawkgirl are missing, and instead we have Mara. If you want to make a Mara figure, I guess that's okay. I would more so go off of this picture. I would like to be able to complete this roster of the Justice League team, and especially it coincides with sticking with modern current events. This is the most recent incarnation of the core Justice League team. So if you want to stick with modern current events and do what's currently relevant in DC, this is probably the Justice League roster you want to build towards. So I would like to see us be able to complete this. That's the first step I think we should take with the DC Multiverse toy line. Next up is the JSA. The JSA has become increasingly popular due to their revival in both the Justice Doom War and just overall with Doomsday Clock and Dark Knight's Death Metal. The JSA is back in a big bad way, and they feature heavily into Infinite Frontier, especially Jay Garrick, the Golden Age Green Lantern. And on top of that, with the success of the Justice Society World War II animated movie and all the buzz that surrounds this movie, and the people who enjoy DC's animation, the Justice Society is a viable effort. If you start making figure representations of the Justice Society, I think they would sell really well. And we already have a Dr. Fate in the form of the Injustice Dr. Fate. So another Dr. Fate. I know it would be really easy to make, Todd, because you already have the mold and shit. But I think it would be better if we forego Dr. Fate, we just stick with the one we've got, and we start getting other characters from the JSA. But that's another great direction that I'd like to see the toy line go. I think the JSA is a good option. Now, something else very modern, very current events with the whole Infinite Multiverse, and something that I'm very excited about, Justice Incarnate. This is a multiversal Justice League made up of alternate reality versions of a lot of our favorite heroes. We've got Calvin Ellis, Earth 23 Superman. We've got Aqua Woman instead of Aquaman. We've got this weird Power Ranger Voltron Batman. Captain Carrot. Yes, please, Todd, give us a Captain Carrot figure. I know, in the past, I hated on Captain Carrot so hard, but now I really like him. I've done a complete, flip on Captain Carrot. Please give us a Captain Carrot figure. Give us Machine Head. Give us this Abin Sur Green Lantern. Give us this, whoever the fuck this is. Give us Thunderer. Give us the Justice Incarnate team. I think that's the best direction you could go with the DC toy line. Give us our core Justice League roster, give us our JSA, give us our Justice Incarnate, and then On top of that, let's get into some New Gods Fourth World stuff. Just because that stuff's great. That's some of the great stuff in DC. It features DC's like #1 most premier villain, which is Darkseid, and yeah, I think it's a good option. I think, and you don't have to do classic looks. If you want to do the more modern looks of the Fourth World characters, the New Gods characters, that's fine as well. I'm sure people will also buy them, but it doesn't have to be the classic look. If you want to do variants, go ahead, do the classic look and the more modern look. I'm pretty sure people would buy both of those as well, because you're giving us more characters. You're increasing the character variety, or you're adding characters to the shelf. That's the goal here. We want more DC characters in figure form on our shelves. That's the end goal here, and this gives us that. So I think New Gods and the Fourth World is another good step to take. Getting towards the end here, DC features a lot of like teenage, young adult heroes and characters, and the concept of sidekicks has kind of gone by the wayside as the years progress. It's not really cool anymore, the whole idea of a sidekick. Batman having Robin, that's set in stone. That's been going on for 80 plus years. That's not going anywhere. But everyone else, the idea of them having a sidekick is just kind of dopey at this point. So DC's teenage and young adult characters tend to shine much more in this modern day and age when you give them their own independence and put them on their own team, such as Teen Titans or Young Justice. So, if you want to build up the Young Justice and or Teen Titans roster of characters, that would also be a viable option for the McFarlane DC Multiverse toy line. Understand this though, I'm not saying that I want them to look like they come from the shows. The toys themselves do not need to look like they come from the cartoons. I'm just saying make these characters, but make the line uniform. I want all of my figures to fit together. I don't want to use a DC animated cyborg as my main cyborg in my collection. Alright, and I don't want a half-ass DC Animated Universe collection on one shelf and then a half-ass DC Comics Universe collection on another shelf. I want one supreme, ultimate DC character collection. That's what we're going for here. So, are these viable options in terms of characters? Yes, but that does not mean that we want you to make them look like their animation style. We don't want you to try and replicate the animation and how they appear in the show. We just want you to make the characters themselves in figure form. And then the very last thing that I wanted to cover is DCEU and movie stuff. With McFarlane Toys, he has the license to do absolutely everything DC related. Live action movies, animation, comics, video games, doesn't matter. But when it comes to the movies, I think we can all agree DC's movies have just been in a state of clusterfuck. Like, that's just the best way to put it. They're in a state of clusterfuck. And until they get their shit together, I don't really see, personally for me, I don't really see the point in buying them. I'm not going to build a DCEU collection when I don't even know that the DCEU is a stable franchise that's going to keep going. It's one thing for me to sit here and collect MCU figures from Marvel Legends, because I know that the MCU is in full swing and it's not going anywhere. It's just going further and farther. So I'm comfortable collecting those. But to collect DCEU, I just don't have the confidence in the franchise. So I feel like McFarlane Toys, they're not going to do this at all. I know they're not. But they would benefit if they just kind of like tabled that. Don't make DCEU live action film figures for a while. At least until they get the movie franchise figured out. Now, there is a Flash movie that's going to be coming out in 2022, which is meant to... It's going to be based on the Flashpoint storyline, which means that it's probably going to reboot the movie universe in some way. It's probably going to be used to kind of smooth out some of the rough edges of the movie universe. And if it does this successfully, then that's a good point to move from in terms of reestablishing the DCEU. But I would suggest that McFarlane kind of table making movie figures until, at least DCEU figures, until at least that point where we see if the Flash movie is going to fix this shit. And if the Flash movie is not going to fix this shit, then I think they should just give up making figures from the movies, because if no one gives a fuck about the movie franchise, they sure as fuck don't care about buying the toys from it. So That's the key there. You got to care about the movies themselves in order for them to really want to buy the memorabilia and the collectibles from it. Now, with stuff like the Robert Pattinson, Matt Reeves, the Batman movie, that is a separate entity. That's not part of the DCEU. That is its own thing, at least as far as we know. So if he makes figures of this, just for like this movie, I would probably buy those just to have for this movie. Because this movie seems like it's meant to just be its own standalone thing, and I can judge it on itself. This stuff I'm going to judge as a whole. I'm going to judge as a franchise, and if the franchise as a whole sucks, then I'm not going to want the figures from it. This is its own thing, so as long as this movie is good, I'm probably going to want a figure for this version of Batman, Penguin, Riddler, so on and so forth. So this kind of stuff I'd say is still okay. When it's this standalone stuff, it's okay to make toys of it. People will probably still want to buy it. This stuff, though, it's like I said, if there's no faith and trust in the franchise, then people are not going to want the franchise merchandise. So that's pretty much all I've got for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think about my thoughts on where the DC Multiverse toy line should go. Get some comments going down below, get a discussion going. If you like this video, please hit the like button. Check out some of my other videos, maybe subscribe to the channel. And other than that, I will see you guys next time.